Our surroundings look so different. Is this? Yes, this is the entrance to the star's womb. This is it, the womb of Dragon Star VARNIR. I don't see any clues here. We still haven't found a way to do this without sacrificing anyone. We can't afford to give up, but we also don't have the luxury of time to figure it all out. Zephy, why are you in a daze? Oh, sorry, I just got lost in my thoughts. You're able to daydream in these circumstances? You must be doing just fine. No, I didn't mean it like that. Charlotta, aren't you going to explain how someone becomes the Dragon Star? Yes, the ceremony. At least it's more like a ceremony. I'll explain it to you when we're in the right place, though. Let's keep going for now. Okay. A ceremony? What's going to happen? The star's womb has opened. Welcome back to part 27 of Dragon Star VARNIR. We are now in the final dungeon of the game. The star's womb. With its really cool music, its atmospheric as fuck environment, and it's also the biggest dungeon in the game, you could probably guess.
Nice.
Originally, this entire dungeon was going to be split into 2 parts, but after yesterday's recording, I checked into it and I was like, why don't I just fit it into one? I can keep it under 40 minutes and still get it into one. So the thing I said yesterday about the Let's Play will finish on a Friday, well, it won't anymore.
Nice.
Because this has been cut down from 2 videos to 1,
Nice.
so it'll end on a Thursday. But it also means I'm going to leave you guys kind of out to dry for the weekend, since I don't like uploading on the weekends if I can help it. Also, whilst I was off screen and preparing, this happened. So I thought I'd show it off before we continue.
I can't afford to run.
Because I essentially had to, like, I essentially decided after that happened that I would just start again. Literally, I'll just start again. So, okay, let's just round 2. We're in Star's room, cool environment, let's go. But yeah, I actually finally had a berserk happen there. But because it was right at the start, I just literally saved the recording then and there and thought I'll just go back to the start of the dungeon and start fresh, in case you guys really don't want a berserk form. Because even though you're safe from it affecting your madness, you've gone through such a large chunk of the game of it being extremely unsafe that you might impulsively just not want to keep it when you get it. Which is fair enough, it happens. And when we return here, it actually has an enemy in this first zone that wasn't here when we first got here, which I was a bit like, oh, okay, sure.
My turn.
Normal battle theme though. What I kind of wish they'd done is that there's a theme that plays in this game that I'm pretty sure, maybe it plays in on the madness path, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure doesn't play in any normal fight in the true path, despite being a battle theme. You only ever hear it in a cutscene, like cutscenes every now and then, especially early on, and that's called End Madness. And it's a great atmospheric as hell track with really like deep, gritty vibe to it. That's a really great battle theme for really intense situations. But if you're on the true path, you never once hear it as a battle theme. You only ever hear it in cutscenes. It's like, but it is listed as a battle theme. It's in between the boss theme and final boss theme in the soundtrack. Because with every Idea Factory game, they always keep all the battle themes together. They'll have like the normal, mini, main, important, and final boss in a row together sort of thing, and it's no different here. But End Madness is between the boss theme and the final boss theme, so it's like, clearly it's a battle theme, it has to be. But it's not used at all. Maybe on the when we go on the Madness path we'll hear it more. Especially because, you know, the theme's called End Madness. So it makes sense if it played during the Madness path. So things have gone far too poorly, and so this is the depressingly dark music you get as your reward. These light orbs around the place is what you're destroying instead of crates or anything to get potential loot. But you can see I'm destroying them not for the dragon meat, I'm destroying them on the off chance I get resources that I can use. But the 2 floors of Star's Womb, because, you know, no dungeon in this game is any bigger than 2 floors for some reason. The ground floor is just a straight line. It's a bulky straight line, but you're going from one end to the other in one long path until you get there. Whilst the second floor splits down the middle and circles round both ways, with both meeting back in the middle on the other side to where the Save Crystal and final boss are waiting for you. So take your time and just enjoy it for what it is. You're going to see me be patient with a lot of this. It's like I can wait for that enemy to turn around and go for the back attack. Not that it matters, because for some reason this guy has a 360 eye, so it just sees me immediately.
I can feel the heartbeat. This is the dragon inside.
Which is kind of annoying when any game does that. Like when you have a system in place to be able to sneak up on enemies and get a hit, and then there are some enemies that just have 360 vision. Well, unexcusably have 360 vision.
Hold on to this. Time to switch.
Like I can understand, say, Neptunia, where you had like those circle robots, where it is literally a ball robot. Of course it's going to have 360 vision, so that was fine. But outside of that, like sometimes an enemy, you'll be right behind them and they'll just turn on a dime and like ding, and you're like, what? And there's not even a sneak option in this game. There's no walking animation in this game either. If you only push the left stick forward ever so slightly, you will still full-on sprint. There is no walking, there is no sneak. Which I think would have alleviated some of the problem if they put in a sneak feature. Made it that these enemies that seem to just spot you at any angle can't as long as you're sneaking. So you can have these advanced enemies that you had to be more cautious with if you wanted to get a heads up on. Because as it stands, it's just kind of weird that some enemies just know you're there.
That wasn't so bad.
The Diaboruses that are around, you desperately want to get a hold of, because I think they have Hellfire. Like they have the strongest fire spell in the game on them. I think that's the enemy that has it. I might be mistaken, but I'm pretty sure they have it.
This seems nice. Oh.
Also, throughout the dungeon, for the sake of it being the final main dungeon of the game, I try to alternate who I'm playing on the field between all 6 of them as equal as possible. In here you can get the last plot significant piece of equipment in the game, the Dragon Star gear, which makes sense because you're in the Star's womb. But once again, if you've been paying attention to your elixirs and grinding them out, no, you're not going to have to worry about that. Yeah, the equipment here isn't going to be good enough to justify. There's a stronger version of these guys called the Golden Childs around. Problem with the Golden Childs though, they die way too quickly. They don't have much health. So I kind of just wasted that one away. It's like, great, I wanted to weaken it and devour it a little there. Then all 3 of them just book it, and I'm like, what's going on? So the field characters, yes, I'm going to have it for Charlotta for a bit, and then I'm going to be alternating to the next character, and then alternating to the next, so on and so forth. By this point, I had finally realised that if you use left and right on the D-pad, you can alternate backwards through the characters instead of only using L1. And to be fair, it's something that I had realised and started doing since after the Forest of Death. It's just because we were still moving at quite a pace, I hadn't really had a chance to really make it visible on footage that I was doing that. Whilst now I can. I think I might have done it as well last part, but last part, when we was in the Holy Cave has next to nothing that requires you swapping out to other characters. Whilst the Star's Womb, with it being the final dungeon, you almost need that final test per se of environmental stuff, in the same way Death End Request did, where it looks for an excuse to essentially have you use every character's ability that could be affected in the field. So if the sole exception of, well, I'll say sole, the dual exception of Manessa and Karikaro, because both of them don't affect anything in the field, you will be using everyone's ability. And even then, you can use Karikaro's ability because there is a lot of secret treasure you can find around here. Nothing too brilliant that's the end of the world if you miss, but still pretty cool. There's me using it actually. I just tap left on the D-pad to swap back instead of having to alternate through everyone. And it's also weird using Fairy in the field because off the top of my head, even ignoring the fact that she joined late, I've almost never used her in the field. I only ever could bring her out in the field to use her ability and that's it. So running around with her right now, it just seemed odd. I was like, I haven't actually spent any time with her as my field character, have I? I'm always either Zephy, Manessa or Charlotta, just because the 3 of them are my main team, so I end up just gravitating towards having them be the ones I play as more. I don't even mean to, I just do it. Also, the last elemental based dragon is down here. The dark dragon is waiting for you. So if you've got light elementals, you'll stand a better chance with this thing. Case in point, it's gone. And it drops a healthy amount of experience. 21,000 is brilliant for this stage in the game. You're not going to level up too quickly, but if you want to grind here, feel free. It also drops the fear boost, which is a great set of equipment. even if, despite being an armor set, it's not actually too brilliant for your defense. It's just a good all-rounder. Like, it boosts everything else by a healthy stretch. Which is why you see me be kind of hesitant to equip it. So I'm like, the low-end defense though. If I'd given it to Manessa, it would have been a straight-up upgrade. So in hindsight, I should have given it to her, so then nothing was lost. But, oh well.
This seems useful.
And the music for the Star's Womb, my god. It's... like, I've spoken about how much I love the Holy Cave theme and how it builds up the atmosphere, but now you're actually here, it's leveled it up. It's taking it up a stage, and it's had so much more impact put into it. Take a listen.
Let's go. This seems useful. This seems useful. Whoa. I got it. This seems useful. Crap there.
I just wish this track was longer.
Let's go.
Like, the Holy Cave track is a lot longer, but when you listen to the Star's Womb track in the OST, like the game's OST even, it's not a long track. It feels like it loops way too quickly, and it's a bit like, oh. Because it's just, it does what it needs to do, and then some, but it just goes so quickly. And these skeletal pricks are so annoying to get a hold of. Like, you can see me getting a little frustrated there, because they don't have the worst evasion rate, but it's pretty high, so you're gonna miss more often than not anyway. And then they just run away, and you're like, for goodness sake! At this point, I kind of doubt myself for a second, trying to work out which way is the correct path. I misremembered and thought it continued spiraling, so I think this is the wrong way. When it's not, it's the right way. It cuts straight through into the middle at this point. But you can get some Dragon Sorcery Stones, which I've mentioned before, but if you want to grind any of the 3 doubling stones, whether it's experience, money, or factor points, the Star's Womb is brilliant for it. You get a shit ton here. And the fact that you can, in the second floor, you can get them quite consistently from destroying these gold crystals around. Like, it's kind of impressive how many of them you can rack up if you want to grind. There is nothing stopping you from grinding them out and then using them to grind yourself out. But I'm just going to level with you. By the time you're done with this dungeon, money will never be an issue again. When you're going into post-game or something like that, you'll realise anything you've killed here has dropped a shit ton of money. You're gonna be a millionaire by the time you finish this. And to be fair, money realistically should have stopped being an issue around the Forest of Death, because the Forest of Death is where, like, the amount of income you get from defeating enemies seems to increase a lot. Also, yes, I've equipped Ice Age to Manessa, so she has got the strongest water spell in the game. Ow. Well, look at me, some of this fucker hits. I was like, come on, that's why I was just skipping the attacks. It's like, this guy hits it 7 or 8 times.
I'll do this.
And I go for a Lightning Dragon Blade just to kind of analyse how good their evasion stats actually are. Because using the ultimates is always a good indicator of it. And as you saw there, like, only like 6 of the batch connected. So it's got a decently high evasion. Not the worst. Like, I've seen far worse, but it does have it. The only other thing that kind of sucks with these guys is if you're not hitting their weakness, it does like no damage. If you hit them with their weakness, it bloody kills them. So trying to get the Devourer on these guys is just a pain in the ass.
Prepare yourself.
Which is why I just stop and start going for Perfect Bites and try and see if I can get it. Which, although I don't have Perfect Bite for Charlotta, I do get it for her during this dungeon. I just don't equip it on her because I like what she's got. And the extra points it would cost to have it would mean I'd have to sacrifice something else. AKA, I'd have to give up Water Eater because it's the weakest one of the lot, but Manessa's never got Water Eater for some annoying reason, so it's stuck as it is. This encounter I should have cut out, I'm surprised I didn't. Oh well. I can miss a couple, I suppose. It is the final dungeon of the game.
Let's go.
In the next floor, there's a lot more unique enemies, so I think that was probably my justification. I probably didn't feel the need to edit out only like 1 or 2 encounters if I knew I was going to be doing so many unique ones. It wasn't going to matter, and it's the final dungeon of the game, so I might as well show every fight as I come across it. So that's the only thing when I'm recording these. Like, I understand that it would get boring if I had every single fight in it, which is why I cut out ones against enemies that aren't new, ones we've already done. But at the same time, sometimes you'll go into a dungeon especially the Idea Factory ones, and every single enemy is an enemy we've already fought. And I'm like, well, now what do I do? And so I think it was Death End where I eventually adopted the rule kind of to myself of I essentially reset the list every time I entered a new dungeon. So if it was the first time I fought that enemy in that dungeon, even if it wasn't the first time I'd fought them outright, I'd still keep the fight in. Now it seemed to do fine in Death End. I mean, you guys watched it, so you guys tell me. I like to think I did alright. Also, yeah, if you're flying, some of these crystals are too low to the ground, so you will miss them. Some of them you will hit, but some of them you just won't. So don't try and just fly past them. Or if you actually care and want to get all of them, just on the off chance you get something decent out of it, slow down. Slow right down.
The dragon inside me.
And you can see I'm at that point where, like, when I'm recording, if it's a fight, I'm sure I'm like, oh, I might cut it out. I skip all like the attacking animations and such just to try and get the fight over and done with sooner, so I don't need to show off anything. So I'm like, well, we're gonna get on the other side anyway. But like I said, in this dungeon, it makes more sense to keep it all in, I think. Especially because if I cut all the fights out, this dungeon isn't going to take us that long anyway, because there isn't that many cutscene like breakaway moments. There isn't that many things that are going to stop us. And because of the very linear structure of this whole dungeon, you're not going to be fighting that much. You're going to get through it kind of quick, even though it is technically the biggest environment we've been to.
My turn. It's over.
And you're also going to see me get very pushy with Devours. When it's off fight, when it's off screen and we're not worrying about it, I'm very pushy with Devours because I just want to get it done with. Oh yeah, Deep Dragon can drop Ice Age, so if you want that tier 4 magic and you haven't got it yet, this is an option for you. And you see, I'm deliberately not killing it because I want to try and get it for Manessa, because Manessa's the only one missing this dragon. Like, she's already got Ice Age from other dragons, but she's the only one missing this one, so I'm like, go for it. There we go.
Keep on going.
So I was having everyone else do attacks I knew wouldn't kill it, just so I could weaken it down to make the devoured percentage higher. Because just like Pokemon, lower the health, better the chance.
Let's go. Let's go.
It went straight past Zephy.
Get out of here.
And technically Zephy's you don't need to do. There's only 2 that are... Well no, actually now I think about it, there's only 1 that's mandatory for you to get through, like 1 character ability, and that's Lapinette's. Everyone else, it's for loot or stage hazards you can put up with anyway. I've already said many times before that because Fairy is optional, any environment you go to that has her ability in use, you either have to tank it for a small while or it's only for optional areas, just to make sure it's not you're not screwed out sort of thing. And it's the same deal here. There is a section that requires Fairy's ability, but it's not big, and so it doesn't matter too much. There are Buns down here as well, which I mentioned last time suck. These guys, because they, especially if there's more than 1 of them, the damage they can rip out in a turn is enough to game over you without you even realizing what's going on.
I can feel the heartbeat.
Which you're going to see there, 1 only attacked once and ran away, and the other one got its full turn. If the other one had got its full turn as well, we're already at half health, so we'd be very close to death. And if it had gone straight to the 3rd one's turn, we could have game overed.
Sense the dragon. How?
And Buns suck to try and get a hold of because their evasion stat is infuriatingly high as well. So if you want to try and get their stuff as well, you just got to get lucky. And it just annoys me. Like, that is a genuine criticism I have towards this game. I get it because it's to stop it being too easy to get dragons and such and relying on luck. But my goodness, are there moments where it feels like too many enemies have too high evasion stats, so trying to get the Devourer on them takes forever. And maybe I'm just missing something. Maybe there's an evasion booster stat or a set equipment you're supposed to equip that boosts your hit evasion rate so much to balance it out that I just haven't caught on to yet or something. But it hurts sometimes when there's a cool enemy, they're a rare spawn, and they just leave as soon as you start because you missed your chance immediately because they take forever to get a hold of. But this is the section I was on about where you can use Farrier to get through it safely, but it's not the end of the world. There's more of it coming up, which is a bigger chunk of it, but it's only for optional loot. So if you're going for the Madness end, you won't have Farrier here anyway, so you can get through it without worrying about it. Or if you really want the loot, you can just tank the small amount of damage and just bolt through. And to be honest, I'm kind of...
One step forward.
I'm not looking forward to it, but I'm also kind of looking forward to the Madness run when I eventually do it, which like I said won't be straight away. I want to do other projects and do other things and then eventually come back to this later down the road. But I am very curious to see how it will end up going, because it will be a fresh perspective for me because I've never done it.
Here we go!
Which is rare for this channel anyway, because I've made it very clear over the years I don't like doing things completely blind outside of, say, like live streams and such.
I'm taking it, okay?
But I like my Let's Plays to be very controlled, and I know to an extent what I'm talking about, what to expect, and I know I can do it. I don't want to enter something blind and realise it's too much for me, or that I fumble my way through, and I just don't think that'd be that fun. Maybe it'd be fun every now and then, but just as a whole I don't think it would be. And so I'd like to know what I'm doing, but I can make a kind of sort of exception when it's a game I know fully, just doing a path I don't usually do. Like, I'm blind to a set pathway, but I know any challenge the game presents I can do. What I'll probably do when I get to that though, just to make it a little bit more spicy, is do it on hard mode.
Ready?
Because there's a trophy for beating the game on hard mode anyway, so I might as well knock that out whilst I'm doing the madness end. And then the only trophy I'll be missing afterwards is getting the neutral end, which is have your madness scale above 15%. And if you want to guarantee you'll get the normal end, only let one kid die. Don't let your madness scale hit 75%, hell no, but only let one kid die. Because it will add 25% and you're immediately in the clear. But I actually have a spare lingering save just before the end of the time limit for that, so I will just do that in my spare time, because I wouldn't be able to justify doing a third playthrough, because the normal pathway really isn't too much different from the true path.
The hidden treasure.
The only thing that's really different is that you fight Bendika,
I'm up. Switch
and
to
the ending is different, obviously.
Here
For reasons that will become very clear next part, the ending is very different, because we have to fight Bendika in the neutral path, because the kids don't manage to convince her to calm down, and to an extent convince Charlotta to calm down, because you remember that scene? She was out for blood. Charlotta knew there was a heavy grudge that Bendika had against her, and knew if left alone, Bendika could eliminate any chance of the world's survival. So Charlotta was so dead focused on, no, Bendika has to die and get her out the picture. If the kids hadn't come in and stopped that, they would have absolutely fought to the death then and there.
Let's go.
And it probably wouldn't have been the prettiest fight either.
Not a big deal.
Which is what also makes me kind of curious about the madness end, because if everyone's already on a very unwelcoming edge,
Feel the heartbeat.
how will that then show up when fighting Bendika? Like, will Bendika turn around and go, wow, you're all fucked?
This is wonderful.
Like, this isn't good. But we've got a cutscene up ahead now. It takes quite a long time for you to get to your first scene, but you think the final dungeon will be littered with them? Okay, we're getting close. I know everyone hasn't given up yet, but I need to know, if it comes down to it, will you be able to do whatever it takes? We all get where Charlotta's coming from. If there isn't a way to do this without sacrificing anyone, someone will have to become the Dragon Star. If we're going to keep going, it means we'll have to be ready for that possibility. Yes, I am. You already know my answer. Yes, I am ready. I can do it too. Feria, remember what we said? You're not mature enough to make that decision yet. One of us will handle it. But... I see. Vanessa. What gives, Feria? You're not that much older than us. Stop trying to be so cool. I want to comfort the girls, but there isn't really anything I can say. I can tell you're all at peace with whatever decision might need to be made. I'm sure Bendika won't be a problem anymore, so let's keep going. Alright, we're almost there. Oh, and speaking of Bendika, Vanessa, do you not remember me? We've met before, you know. What? What are you talking about? And you said it was Bendika who was behind the Carnival of Death, not you, right? Yes, but Vanessa and I met for the first time during the Carnival of Death. I see, Bendika did say she learnt the truth from you just before the carnival. You were there too, huh? I was. The den was burning and I was frozen. So many witches were in despair. There wasn't a witch there I could have considered a friend, and I was about to make a run for it on my own, but then I saw a witch who was fighting for not only her own life, but the life of her friends as well. It was Manessa. What? Me? I thought maybe she had what it took to become the next Dragon Star. That's why I couldn't just abandon you. Wait, so you saved Manessa? I didn't know that. You don't remember that, Manessa? I'm sorry, all I remember, aside from the flames, is the sound of my friend screaming in pain. Vanessa, you don't need to push it. I know it's a very difficult memory for you to recall. Oh, that's right, sorry. I didn't mean to make you revisit the past like that. It's alright, honestly, I can't remember. But thank you for saving me, Charlotta. Don't mention it. It's my job to save any potential Dragon Star. Back then, I thought you'd be the closest match to a Dragon Star, but I feel like everyone here is able as well. That goes for you too, Zephy. If you didn't have human blood in you, I would say you're the strongest candidate. What I'm saying is, I believe in you. Charlotta? She's just been telling me how I can't be a Dragon Star, now this? Didn't know she thought that of me, because she fucking loves you. That's nice, Zephy. You seem happy to hear it. Never seen Charlotta like this. Hey, is something wrong with you? I feel perfectly fine. Anyway, you're never going to hear me talk like that again, so let's focus and do what we came here to do. Right. Seriously, even ignoring my bias and ignoring how much I want them to get together, I've mentioned it so many times, there are so many subtle little moments and scenes of how Charlotta responds to what Zephy says or how she speaks to Zephy that is different to how anyone in the party acknowledges him. She cares for Zephy different from how everyone else cares for him. And it's just like, for goodness sake, let that go somewhere. My only wish, if this game ever gets a sequel, which it so fucking deserves one, if it ever gets a sequel, please, for the love of God, make Zephy and Charlotta's relationship canon. Make it, don't do what every other game really annoyingly does, but it gives you romance options in the next game they've miraculously vanished. Canonically pick one. Even if it's, I've mentioned it before, but even if they don't make it Zephy x Charlotta, I'd love for the game to just to say, okay, here's a canonical relationship, Zephy ends up with someone, that is the bottom line. Because no game does it. No game seems brave enough to do it, because they don't want to take that option away from the player of dating their favourite girl or whatever. But I feel like if it would actually make it unique, it would actually help it stand out from the crowd to make that choice. To say, yeah, you know that cast? Yeah, well, we've canonized one. Live with it, kind of thing. Even if it wasn't with Charlotta, I'd still be happy with them making that choice. It'd probably be with the poster girl, let's be honest. It'd probably be Manessa, because she's on the box art. And is kind of treated as one of the main characters, even though she's kind of not. I mean, she is, but she's not. In terms of like importance, Zephy and Charlotta stand higher up on the pedigree of that sense. Then it's kind of Manessa, Karikara and Lapinette are around-ish the same level, and then Fairy is at the bottom because she's optional. And so most of the scenes she's in before the end of the time limit, everything she adds to the conversation feels kind of needless. Like, she'll jump on a point that someone else has already made, and it's like, well, if you remove that point, the conversation wouldn't change whatsoever. It's literally just there to make you acknowledge that she is still in the party. But it's only when it's locked in on the other side of the time limit that she actually starts talking more and becomes more involved. And they start responding to her directly, because they kind of weirdly ignored her starting from chapter 7. Assuming you're not counting the social link scenes.
Get ready.
Which, yes, at this point I have settled it in. If you're deciding whose ending you want to see, it's not whoever you maxed out first, it's whoever's left maxed out. If everyone is maxed out, it will just pick from the top of the list, so you'll always get Manessa's ending. Because they will go in order of Manessa, Karikara, Lapinette, Charlotta, Feria. So instead, if you want to get the character ending you want, once you've got everyone maxed out to see all the scenes, which I recommend doing, just max everyone out so you can see everyone's scenes and get a better connection with all the cast. Give a hell mushroom to everyone but the one you're romancing, because they don't like hell mushrooms. It's a universal dislike, but only a minor universal dislike, so it will just chip them off top, but they will still be very close with you. They won't hate you.
Get ready.
Like, they will still like view you extremely highly and kind of fancy you. Just whoever you got maxed out is the one that will fall in love with Zephy. So in my instance, everyone but Charlotta got a hell mushroom before we came in here. So I've seen everyone's scene, but Charlotta's ending is the one we're going to get. And I started trying to go for the Bunbu Bun since it's here, and it's not happening. These guys just suck. I managed to get one with Manessa, which I'm at least grateful for that I managed to get it on someone, but it's like, I'm not getting it on the whole party. Which is a shame, because the final thing I wanted to try and do in this game, which I suppose technically I can try and do on the Madness path as well, is get every single dragon on one character, so I can show you the entire move list and every single skill that's available to you.
This is really hard.
Also, the Bunbu Bun is in this fight, and well, yeah, it just wiped 2 of our party, so I'm like, huh, okay, yeah, Bunbu Buns, they suck.
I failed?
And so I try again to try and get the thing, and it's just not happening. And so Manessa dies instead, and I'm like, when do I run away? It's like, when does it get to a point where this fight isn't worth maintaining? Especially because that thing can just summon more problems. But the Bun Boo Bun kills another person and leaves, and I'm like, you prick. Why do that? Why just slay the last one then run away?
My, how unfortunate.
I'm not even getting lucky with the death crab thing that it spawned in. It's like my luck's falling apart here. I was doing alright at one point and it's just not happening anymore. But whilst we've only got 6 odd minutes left of this Let's Play, I do want to take the time to say that yes, this is the penultimate part of the Let's Play, of the main adventure. Next time will be the finale of this project, which is a lot shorter than I was expecting it to be, but at the same time I still think it's been a healthy length.
Oh well.
Like the actual final project, once we've done all the bonus videos, is still plus 30 videos. So it's still going to be above 30, which I think is a very healthy size for this kind of project. And when you keep in mind at some point I'm coming back for the madness scale, like for the madness ending, which won't be as long because we won't have to worry about time limits. You will lose access to the social links almost immediately when you get madness, because no one can even contemplate something like that
How
Let's go.
unfortunate.
when they're already loose, when they're already like disengaged.
That was...
And significant plot events will be different, but the main dungeons and the main enemy encounters will be mostly the same. It's only endgame that will be drastically different in even gameplay, and so we'll have to see as we go. So I think the star, like, I'm kind of curious. I don't actually know for a fact, but I'm kind of curious if the Star's Womb even shows up in the madness ending. Like in the neutral ending, it does. So anyway, I'll explain how when we get to it next time. Like what's different about the endings and how it goes down. But at the same time, I will end up being sort of vague because I've deliberately not looked into it too much. So I will only tell you what I know when I get to it. Because I don't want to, even now, I kind of don't want to spoil some of it if I've encouraged even a single one of you to give this game a shot, which I hope I have. Like, that's like the only thing I could ask for, because I do love this game. As much as I critique a lot of it, it's in my top 5 favourite games on this generation. And I say that proudly, because I genuinely adore this game. I love the characters, I love the story, I love the gameplay. I love so much. The only thing that holds it back is its lack of budget. And it's why I so desperately wanted to get a sequel. Because if they can get the same level of writing, same level of character development, but actually have a good financial backing behind it,
Let's go. This seems useful.
that it makes me almost foam at the mouth. It seems so insane what they could pull off with this.
Oh,
And I've already got ideas for what I'd love to see in the sequel. It's a similar vein. Back when I recovered Neptunia V2R, at the end of the game I spoke quite heavily
my turn.
about what I'd love to see from a 5th mainline game. Well, it's a similar deal here. I know what I would love to see from a sequel to this.
Oh, the dragon inside me.
My main focus is that I want them to just drift away from the people hunting witches. I want it to be more. I want it to be a little looser in the sequel. I want it to be more just exploring and seeing the sights, and then getting caught up in something, and then having to try and deal with it together. I also want it to be based a couple years later, but on the same cast. Main reason being, if it's based a couple years later, you can have the 3 kids be playable characters. So there's new characters in the game, because that's always a concern making a sequel for a turn-based JRPG, a direct sequel no less, is new cast members. If you have it be the exact same cast, it might feel a little tiresome and a little repetitive. So having the 3 kids, maybe you start the game playing as one of the 3 kids, as a little older. And then as it goes on, like, they're the ones in their adventures stumble upon something and end up going back to the den and be like, guys, help us out, and then you get the whole original cast join in.
This seems useful.
Or something like that. I'd love to see that. My biggest one is that I know what I'd call the title, because I don't want it to just be called Dragon Star 2. I think there's a very clever thing they could do with the title, which I will get to after, like, the next part. I was about to say tomorrow, but tomorrow's Saturday, so I won't be uploading tomorrow. But still, like, there's a cool idea I have for the title as well, and if they do actually do a direct sequel and base it on the same cast, as I said, make it a few years later so you can have Monet, Shakita and Pio be playable cast members, because I think they'd actually be kind of fun. Make it so you can have a bit more variety of weapon equips, and what I mean by this is still have it so Charlotta uses scythe weapons primarily, but make it that you can get like a blunted edge scythe sort of thing, so you can make a blunt weapon instead of it being a slash, so you can make her cover blunt if you want to, so you can make your cast kind of fill in the gaps themselves a little bit more, or like have it so instead of it being a mace, it's a spiked mace, so although it's so it doesn't get counted as blunt, it can be counted as, I don't know, pierce or something. Just things like that to make it so you have a little bit more diversity while still having the cast members using their stuff. And the only other thing I could ask for is change some of the field abilities to feel more worth it. Because I've mentioned it a few times, I don't like gimmicky ones. Like, I think Manessa's ability is the best one in the game because it feels helpful right from the get-go. It's not just something gimmicky, it's something genuinely helpful. Whilst Zephy's, they could remove it and it affect nothing. Karikaro's is nice to have, I'd keep that one. But in everyone else it's the same deal, you remove it, you lose nothing. So make them more personal instead of environmental, like Manessa's and Karikaro. But that being said, I'm going to have to save that for now because we're at the end. So next time on Dragonstar Varnir, we enter the Dragonstar's real end and see where it takes us. But until then, you guys take care now.